We're going to start by rolling around the outside edge of the foot. So making sure that you connect with the big toe mound, the pinky toe mound, and the heel. You'll go in one direction and then the other direction a few times. You're going to want to make sure that you do this on each foot. And just get around to feeling contact with the outside edge, rolling around the outside edge of that foot. Making sure you change directions. And then standing on both feet, you're going to start to roll around the edge of both feet. And as you do this, you'll feel how the legs move. You may feel some stuff in your hips working as you roll around the outside of the foot. Just becoming aware of that connection from the foot to the hip. Just kind of feel how that feels in standing. And then you're going to come into tree pose. So just lifting the foot up and placing it somewhere along that standing leg. And then you're going to step out to the side. And again, notice how that extended leg foot moves and roll the outside edge of the foot down and then let it come up. Making your way back into tree. And then you're going to step forward this next time. Feel how the heel lifts, and then you're going to lift and lower that back heel. So we're just getting some work through the ankles, feet here, and back up into tree. And this time we're going to step across that standing leg. And you'll feel the standing leg foot change position, and again, roll through that ankle so that you feel a contact through the foot. One last time up into tree. And this last time we're going to step back and rock onto the standing heel and then reach through the ball of the foot like you're pressing a gas pedal and let it come back up and just feel that work through the front of the ankle. And tree one last time. We'll come to standing, and you're going to get a stack of blocks. You could also get a chair, and you might have blocks underneath your feet, but you want to be in a squatting position so that the knees are higher than your hips. So you're in some hip flexion as well as quite a bit of knee flexion. Now you could also choose to do this unsupported, so just holding yourself in this squat position. And then you're going to hold a foam brick, and as you do, you're going to imagine trying to pull the brick into two pieces. And feel how that pulling action moves up the arm and possibly all the way to the shoulder. And then you'll reach around behind you, hold the brick and pull. And if you can't reach the block behind you without discomfort in the shoulders, just pull in front and then reach the block around behind, but you don't have to grab it behind yourself. So you'll just take it behind and then bring it up front again without pulling behind your body. And I've noticed what your head does, how that feels through the shoulders. Then we're going to reach up in Gamakatsu arms with that top arm and just tap the brick between the shoulder blades. And then we're going to reach around behind and tap the brick between the shoulder blades, but coming from the bottom Gamakatsu arms position. Now we're going to make it more active by reaching up and reaching down, getting a hold of the block if you can, and pulling it apart with the arms in this position. You're going to hinge forward at the hips. Just feel the impact that has on the spine and the shoulders possibly. And then switching top and bottom arm. And again, just staying nice and easy through the ribs, through the head. And if you don't have the range to grab the block behind you and pull, just stay with that block tap, taking the Gomukhasana arms from the top and then from the bottom. And we're going to come back up to standing and explore that tree one more time on the other side. So again, lifting the leg, rotating it, and just placing that foot wherever it lands on that standing leg. And we've got some contact and pressure between the standing and the tree leg. And as you step out to the side, then you're going to work through that ankle, reaching the whole foot to the floor and letting it peel off. And then we're going to step forward, the back heel lifts, and we're going to play with plantar and then more dorsiflexion through that back leg, working through the foot and the ankle, that standing leg. So rather than being focused on trying to stay really static, just explore moving in this tree variation. Explore being active through the foot and the ankle with these movements. Now we're into some dorsiflexion and then gas pedaling the toe box towards the floor. Great exploration before hiking or going for a walk. Next, we're going to set up with a chair and start to work some hip hinge over a standing leg in a variation of Warrior 3. With the arm and leg reach and pull into flexion, or pulling the knee and the elbow towards one another, and then moving into a little isometric. So pulling the knee into the hand and meeting the resistance of the hand with the knee. All the while staying as neutral as you can through the spine. Then we're going to play with a little bit more flexion at the hip and the knee, loading that leg. Building up to, say, if we wanted to move from here into eagle pose with the legs and back up to standing. So I like the back foot having a contact point, and it's not a lot of pressure, just a touch. Helps us focus on that reach out through the leg and out through the arm, and that draw back under. And again, the isometric here. Spine stays nice and long. And as you push the hand into the thigh and the thigh into the hand, you'll notice the back of the standing leg have to work a little bit harder. Coming into a bit more ankle and knee and hip flexion. Again, just having this Warrior 3 be a little bit more active. You're going to make your way down to the floor and need a blanket underneath the length of your torso. Just lower down onto your hands, back of your hands, and we're just going to rock the bum side to side here. Just feel all the bits of the front of you in contact with the floor. We're going to lift up onto the elbows, roughly underneath the shoulders, thereabouts. Wherever it feels like the spine can be supported and you're not compressing in the low back. And then you're going to push and extend each elbow, kind of rocking side to side. From here again on the forearms, you're going to turn the palms up and start to kind of come into a cat-cow flexion with the spine as you draw the knees and elbows towards one another. And once the knees and elbows are towards one another and you're in a tight ball, just shifting your weight forward and back. And a lot of spinal flexion here. And then we're going to go side to side with the elbows and the feet, or the hands and the feet. rocking through lateral flexion, stopping in the center and then pressing out through the knees and the elbows to come back to our starting Sphinx position. Now you might want to pause the recording and just repeat that sequence a couple of times. Then we're going to make our way onto our back for our final pose of the practice, and that's just some hip extension in a supported bridge. So putting some folded towels or blocks, and when you lift the hips, you want to just fill the space that is easily filled, not have to lift the hips a little bit higher in order to get the blocks underneath. Bring the pelvis down onto the blocks. I'm going to do a little bit of work just through the shoulders here. Just going to settle in, let my pelvis get really heavy on the blocks. Moving in just to some elbow flexion and then shoulder flexion. Moving into some protraction of the shoulder blades, letting them slide away from one another and around to the sides of the rib cage and then back towards one another. And then just coming to rest in bridge pose, putting the block down. Just feeling the weight through the shoulders, through the pelvis, the feet. As I breathe here, just letting my attention move into the breathing space of my pelvis. Inhaling, maybe noticing how the bones of the pelvis broaden or widen and move away from the base of the spine slightly. And as I exhale, how those bones come back towards either side of that sacrum to hug it. You may or may not feel or connect to feeling this movement of the pelvis, but just connect to the movement you do feel in the breathing space in the center of your pelvis. Maybe that you feel the tissue of the pelvic floor moving. One thing I want you to notice is if there's a lot of ballooning in the belly, I'd like you to find a little bit more evenness as we move into Savasana between the belly, the breath that's in the belly and the breath that is moving the rib cage. So that the belly doesn't distend and exceed far beyond that of the movement of the actual rib cage where the lungs are. Moving into Savasana. Just feeling the weight of the skull and each of the limbs and of the spine. And allowing yourself to rest here in this body, in this breath, and in this moment.